Call the meeting to order at 7:01. Everyone, please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'll remain standing, I'd like to just have a moment of silence in recognition and in support of the community of Oxford. Thank you. Roll call, please. Oh, sorry. Roll call, please.
Campbell.
Here.
Dempsey.
Here.
Fournier.
Here.
Hammond.
Here.
Crump.
Here.
Menser. Here. Voorhees.
Here.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 4, proclamation honoring Gus's Coney Island's 50th anniversary. We have representatives today from Gus's. Yes, we do. Thank you. Come on up. Do we have the actual proclamation with us? And if not, can I just use one of yours hard copies so I can go over there? Do we have the actuals not here?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I wasn't here.
Do you want to grab it?
I have no idea where it was.
Okay.
You're gonna get a nice photocopy.
Yeah.
We're not
give you-
far. That's what
Yeah.
you know where to find us.
I'll deliver the actual. And we'll give this one today. Okay. Thank you for coming today, gentlemen. We
Sure.
really appreciate that. And I think, do I need to, Darren, do you pick me up from here, or do you want me to? Okay. Whereas Gus's Coney Island was started in 1971 in a 3-story building at 29 New Street in Mount Clemens, Michigan. And whereas Gus Pazios, a Greek immigrant armed with an impressive mustache and a warm personality, started selling the best Coney dogs, chili fries, and breakfast in town. With his wife Tony's love and his uncanny work ethic, Gus's Little Coney Island became a huge success. Whereas Gus's Coney Island is known for bringing joy, memories, and tremendous food to generations of customers, it quickly evolved from a restaurant and workplace to something much more. It became a place where warm memories tickled the brain and new ones were born, where people fell in love and where successful entrepreneurs got their humble start. Whereas Gus's Coney Island started over 50 years ago and remains to this day a family business, they have had the privilege of growing alongside the city of Mount Clemens and have become a staple of the community that they love. Now, therefore, I, Laura Kropp, Mayor of the City of Mount Clemens, on behalf of the City Commission and all our citizens, do hereby recognize the history Gus's Coney Island and join in their celebration of their 50th anniversary.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much,
And I promise that we'll have a nicer copy for you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Take care. If you
Thank
want to
you.
say anything, feel free.
Yeah, briefly, I don't have any words prepared, however, I think a few are necessary here. Thank you to the city commissioners, thank you, Mayor, for the recognition. My father's too humble probably to accept such praise and accolades, but it truly is a testament to his work ethic, and he has loved being a member of the business community here and growing the business throughout the years, and we thank everybody for this recognition.
Most definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Mayor Kropp, I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Support. Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crump.
Yes.
Menser. Yes. Voorhees.
Yes.
Okay, this is the portion of the meeting where we invite the public to address the commission. We will first recognize the public that is actually with us in person, and then afterwards we will address people who are on Zoom. If you would like to address the commission, please come to the microphone, state your full name and your residential address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the commission?
Good evening.
Patrick Abajuda, 16557 Howard Drive. I'm here tonight to notify the commission of a violation concerns that I found that the city may make against the MMFLA ordinance. I requested a FOIA after hearing the news of the VBJG Mount Clemens received their state license and permits to operate. There were a lot of interesting findings in the FOIA results, but I only have 3 minutes. I appreciate the city's help in the FOIA and also in this matter. First, there's a few questions that need to be asked. Was the city made aware of the changes to the application? If so, if they were informed, who approved it? And why was this not on any of the application review committee meetings? And who approved the permits to operate? With that being said, not just site plans have changed, but also ownership. So the original names on the applications were Chelani's, as Mr. Murray clarified during one of the city meetings. The resident agent of VBJG changed on September 7, 2021 to Delta Management, who is owned by James George. But I found a new filing dated December 2nd, stating that Pleasantries is the assumed name in which VBJG business will be transacted. The name Pleasantry also appears on the building and trade permits that are in the FOIA. Under 20.115, Part I, no permit issued under this chapter shall be assigned or transferred to any person unless the assignee or transferee has submitted an application and all required fees. So have they? I asked the city as well. So under under 20.115, Section 5, Part H states that there must have been information and provided to the city. Again, was the city informed? This also violates Section 20117, Section 7, Part 5, the duty to supplement. Another violation concerned that I found in the FOIA under 20117, Section 7, Part 2, on renewal of applications that clearly states the renewal application must be submitted 45 days prior to expiration, and the city clerk shall not accept on the 44th day prior to the expiration or any day thereafter, if so deemed forfeited. So the permits were approved on December 16th. Why did the city approve a notice dated September 2nd or December 2nd? Now, again, I'm just pointing out concerns, but I fear that we just scratched the surface. An investigation should be conducted. If so, to remove any bias, we should do it on a state or federal level. With the information we have here, what is the commission willing to do about it? Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the commission at this time?
Carl Hay, 21 2nd Street. First, thank you, Commissioner Hammond, for your kind words. This is my first time being able to be back to a meeting about me being nominated as a Michigan hero. I appreciate that. I am here today on behalf of Sportport. I just wanted to thank each and every one of you very much for allowing us to move the sports equipment into the community center on 58 Orchard. It has made a massive impact on our ability to get equipment to the youth of our city, and lending has multiplied exponentially in the past few weeks. It really shows the good that we can do for our community when we pull our resources together and we act as one for the benefit of Mount Clemens and its citizens. And I just really want to say thank you, because a lot of times people have harsh things to say about what you guys do as a commission and how things don't get done. But this is one win that you guys definitely helped the city with. And I just want to give you a round of applause and say thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl. Is there anyone else who would like to address the commission at this time?
My name is Earl Stilson, 24-400 Joy. I don't understand why it's taking so long for this marijuana law regulation to go through. It's supposed to have been something on the meeting tonight from a November meeting 2.5 months ago. It's not moving forward very fast. And the ordinance you had, the proposal one, was terrible. I mean, I don't know whoever came up with that, but they should have been not paid for doing the work they did, because the work wasn't done. If you go next door to Harrison Township, look at that community. They got 20 licenses next to each other, no 1,500 feet apart, all in an industrial area where it should be for growing. I think there's some other regulations in Harrison Township you should incorporate into your new ordinance. I hear it's supposed to be out in January, if you can do that without more delays. I give you a lot of credit for getting Jara's dispensary open. The man has spent a tremendous amount of money, time, inspection fee, and everything else to be able to operate his business. This community could benefit quite a bit by the fees, inspection fees, the taxes, the increase. You look on buildings in Harrison Township, they went from a $200,000 bill to $1 million bill. That really helps your taxes, along with all the inspection that has to go through to get to that. So I'm doing you a favor. I'm going to give you a copy of Harrison ordinance.
Thank you.
Which is on the internet, and anybody can look it up. I would suggest that the board members look at it and incorporate some of it into the new regulations for Mount Clemens, especially the requirements of the distance between the businesses. And Harrison got right next to each other. So take a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the commission at this time?
Mayor Kropp, City Commissioners, George Kale, 180 Grand Ave. In regard to the item on the agenda for the discussion on the point system, I do concur with the previous two gentlemen in regard to what is taking place before us. Commissioner Dempsey, welcome back into the fold, and I would like to give Commissioner Dempsey the packet that I handed the City Commissioners back in July, which included an email to the City Commissioners in which I also was questioning how did pleasantries wind up into the mix. We went through the entire summer with a charade of pleasantries being here, even with them going so far as to ask for a special consideration. Commissioner Hammond, you might recall, where they had talked to you and then Commissioner Goodnow to bring back and revisit the outdoor grow issue when they had no legal claim right whatsoever in regard to the application or any other aspect of a marijuana business in the city of Mount Clemens. I know this is being recorded. I certainly don't want to get knocked off the YouTube channel, but I do have to use the F word, Mayor, but it's just fraud. There's potential fraud that was committed in regard to how this whole thing came about. And I'd like to ask a question of the administration this time in regard to the city manager. In his lead-in for the item on the agenda today on the discussion, the third paragraph, I'm asking you if you had input from the city attorney or other legal counsel on how this ordinance is incorporating what the state intended to incorporate both the medical and the recreational. Also, I will send you, the commissioners and the mayor, a link. The city of New Baltimore, for instance, if you look at their medical marijuana ordinance, they simply amended it to add in the recreational piece. They did not repeal and replace the medical ordinance. What happened with the lack of the second reading on the marijuana business ordinance, pleasantries, we haven't seen them around here lately, had to take a back step. I believe the city attorney was on tape at one of the meetings indicating that he had to instruct them to do so because they were causing some confusion. And then VBJG had to pivot and come up with a new team in regard to submitting applications to the state for their state licensing when they were not part of that original application process with the city a couple years ago. And Commissioner Dempsey, as you know, you were here at that beginning part, and unfortunately you are the one that had invited me back into the community to revisit the bike path stuff, which I intend to do. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the commission at this time? Do we have anyone on Zoom? Okay, all right. We will close public participation and move on to administrative responses to issues or questions raised during the previous meetings. Mr. Johnson?
At the November 15th meeting, Commissioner Fournier asked whether items moved to the tax roll would come off the community development reports. I suggested they would, but Mr. Tingley has corrected me. Whether or not fees are due does not correlate to enforcement cases being open or closed. It simply means that any fees associated with that property have not been paid. Second item, at the same meeting, Commissioner Mincer asked about the status of the agreement with Electric Power Systems. And City Attorney Murray provided an immediate update, but in the time since, the attorney for Electric Power Systems has agreed to the terms provided by Mr. Murray, and the agreement has been executed.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Johnson? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the City Commission meeting minutes for November 15th, 2021.
Support.
Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser. Yes. Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
General business 9A, public hearing on downtown maintenance. I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I move to open the first public hearing for the downtown maintenance program.
Support.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
This is the first of two public hearings for the downtown maintenance program. It's a process we go through every year. The downtown maintenance program pays for the clearing of snow and sweeping of the sidewalks downtown and other repairs that are necessary downtown. The first public hearing in many communities is referred to as the hearing of necessity. The second public hearing being the hearing of assessment. The purpose of this hearing is to gather comments from the public with regard to the necessity for the program.
Is there anyone at this time from the public who would like to speak specifically about the downtown development authority assessment? Sorry, downtown development maintenance.
Yeah, it's not DDA, it's...
Right, sorry, the downtown development maintenance assessment. Would anyone like to speak to that? Anybody on Zoom? Okay. All right, is there anyone from the commission who would like to speak to this issue? Okay. All right, well, then we will entertain a motion to close the public.
Mayor Crop, I move that we close the first public hearing for the downtown maintenance program.
Support.
Okay, and roll call, please.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
And we need now, I'll entertain a motion for to set up the second public hearing.
I move to adopt the recommended rates, instruct the assessor to prepare a special assessment roll, and set the date for the second public hearing on December 20th, 2021.
Support.
Any questions or comments about the date? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Okay. General business 9B, approve court budget, 41B District Court. We have today with us Mr. James McGrill from 41B District Court Administrator, correct?
You are absolutely correct. First off, I do want to apologize. Judge Lucido was hoping to get here. He wasn't able to get out of his other meeting in time, so unfortunately, you're stuck with me. I did want to present the budget. As everyone knows, we did have a tough year in 2020. I know last year when
Can you wait one second? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the 41B District Court 2022 budget.
Support.
Okay, now go ahead.
As I started saying, obviously 2020 was a tough year for not just our court, but all the courts throughout the state, quite honestly. I think with this budget, there's actually two items before the commission tonight. One, our amended budget for 2021. We ended up not having nearly as bad of a year as we thought we were going to have last year when we were before the commission. The second issue is to adopt the 2022 budget. And the 2022 budget is a balanced budget, and even the the monies that we were in the hole for 2021, even though they were much less than we thought, our cash reserves are able to cover it. So we're not asking for a check from any of the funding unit communities. We have submitted the budget to the court council, is unanimously approved by a court council. We did appear in front of, as you know, we do have an interesting funding setup in that we have 3 funding units rather than just one entity. We did appear in front of Clinton Township Board of Trustees last Monday, who did unanimously approve the 2 budgets as well. With that, obviously, I will answer any questions that you have regarding the budget, operations, anything whatsoever. I'm in front of you as the firing squad, so go for it.
So right now, we are looking at the 2022, that's the motion on the floor right now. So the 2022 budget, if you look at it, is balanced, and they've really done a nice job from what we've seen in the court council of making sure that everything is in balance and they're not overspending. And I will say that if you look at other courts through the surrounding communities, but also throughout the entire state, they were not as mindful, and their funding agencies are kind of on the hook for a lot of money. So, especially in our community where every tax dollar is so precious because of how, of our 48% of non-taxable properties, I like to add that in every time I can.
Once in a while.
You know, we really try to be mindful here in the city, and so as an extension of us, we appreciate your efforts too. Is there anyone else who have comments or questions? Okay, all right, well, our firing squad is...
That was light.
Yeah. All right, well then, hearing no other comments, we'll go ahead and call the roll.
Menser.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve the 41B District Court 2020-21 amended.
Just 21.
21, sorry. Not 2021, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Motion to approve the amended 41B District Court 2021 budget.
Support.
Okay, now does anybody have any questions on that piece?
It's just 21, not 2021.
It's 2021,
out.
not 20.
What's that?
You're
2021.
lucking out.
Yeah.
Okay, hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Menser.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Thank you so
Okay. much,
everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too. All right, we will move on to general business 9C, approved participation in class action opioid settlement. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to authorize the city of Mount Clemens to participate in the national opiate litigation settlements and to authorize the city manager to execute any documents necessary for participation in the litigation settlements.
Support.
Okay, Mr. Johnson?
Thank you. City Attorney Murray and I are recommending the City Commission authorize Mount Clemens' participation in the National Prescription Opiate Litigation Settlements. 2 proposed nationwide settlement agreements have been reached that will resolve all opioid litigation brought by states and local political subdivisions against the 3 largest pharmaceutical distributors and 1 manufacturer. These settlements require the distributors to pay up to $21 billion over 18 years, and the manufacturer to pay up to $5 billion over no more than 9 years, for a total of $26 billion. Each of the proposed settlements has 2 key participation steps. First, each state decides whether to participate, and Michigan has already joined both settlements. Second, the subdivisions within each participating state must decide whether they will participate. Any subdivision that does not participate cannot directly share in any of the settlement funds. We are recommending Mount Clemens participate because we see no downside to participating and a potentially significant upside. Mr. Murray notes the sole concession the city is making is to release the released entities as defined in the settlement agreement from any further liability. Since the city has never entertained the notion of litigation on its own, the release is of no consequence. Further information can be found in the attached letter from the Michigan Attorney General's office or on the settlement website. And there's a link in the report. If you click on it, it'll take you to the settlement website.
Mr. Murray, do you have any other?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments for either Mr. Johnson or Mr. Murray?
There's no possibility of any kind of liability towards the city if we join this.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Hearing no further questions or comments, we will call the roll, please.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey. Yes. Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Okay. Agenda item 9D, discuss marijuana business ordinance. I'll entertain a motion. Well, we don't really have one at this point. Well, we can,
There is a motion.
yeah, there isn't one, huh? Do you want us to have a motion of opening discussion?
That would be fine if you wish to.
So are we just opening it up for discussion, but we're not tabling the second reading yet?
Well, we can do that as a motion right after.
Well, there is a motion here that says I move to table the second reading.
This is just a table.
Right, but isn't that after we discuss?
I think you'd want to discuss it and then
It's the other way around.
make that
Yeah,
motion.
yeah.
Right. So we want to open,
This is faulty.
well, it just doesn't have the first motion on it.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. No, I was going to ask a question.
I move to open the discussion regarding the second reading of the marijuana business ordinance.
Support.
Call the roll, please. We don't really need to call the roll for opening and discussion, so let's just, all right, Commissioner Hammond, you said you had a question, so we'll go there first.
No, I was going to ask a question about the,
Oh, about the motion?
yes.
Okay, all right.
Before she called it, but she had.
Excellent, okay, well, so our last meeting and our last discussion of this ended with, we wanted to readdress the significant areas of the ordinance. Several of them were discussed, being the point system being one of them. So, Mr. Murray or Mr. Johnson, do you want to lead us in what areas that we were discussed at that time to kind of guide us through this discussion?
Well, initially, there was a first draft of the ordinance. And in that draft, it combined medical with the recreational. And we indicated that there were 4 significant areas that the commission should address. And those areas were to replace the Medical Marijuana Facilities Review Commission, which had been the selecting agency or entity under the medical marijuana ordinance. And that consisted of the city clerk, the manager's designee, and the community development director. And we replaced that with the city manager reviewing applications and making recommendations to the city commission, and the city commission making the decisions on applications. The reason for that change, as was explained, was primarily one reason. My reason was to avoid open meetings challenges. The one person, as you know, all meetings of a public body must be open to the public, posted, etc. One person cannot constitute a public body. Therefore, if the manager is reviewing the applications and making recommendations on his own, he can do so without having to call public meetings every time he's reviewing anything to do with the applications. The second reason Mr. Johnson put forth in in his report to the commission, which was he thought it was important and significant that the commission make the decisions on such an important topic. So that was the first area. The commission, this commission, indicated it agreed with that at a subsequent meeting. The second area was the ordinance maintained the first draft, the same number of authorized establishments as was in the medical marijuana facilities ordinance, which was 1 for all the grow categories and 2 for every other category. And it created a preference for co-location of recreational establishments with authorized medical marijuana facilities. That was presented to the commission. That was discussed, and that was approved by the commission. The third area was the ordinance prohibited designated, it didn't include, designated consumption establishments and micro businesses, as well as temporary marijuana events, all of which are new under the Recreational Act. Those were not items that were mentioned or allowed under the Medical Facilities Act. This commission indicated that it wanted designated consumption establishments and wanted micro businesses and wanted temporary events. So the ordinance was then amended to add 2 designated consumption establishments and 2 micro businesses. The fourth area was that the ordinance, the first draft, prohibited outdoor growing, as did the medical marijuana facilities ordinance. This commission, after a discussion, indicated they wanted to continue that prohibition. So those were the items. We had a series of meetings. We had a series of decisions made by this commission, and that's where we are at this point in time. At the last meeting where this commission indicated it wished to table the matter, it was my impression, although they mentioned the scoring system, that it appeared to me that the commission wanted to add more authorized establishments, because the scoring system, and I pointed that out on a couple of memos to the commission as well as in the agenda explanation, the scoring system contained the preference for the 2 medical marijuana permittees. It had a preference. The first draft, which has more subjective selection criteria, had this similar preference. Since the commission indicated that it wished to continue just the same number of establishments as in the first draft and in the medical ordinance, then the scoring system was not very elaborate, because there were only going to be 2 recreational licenses for retail centers, and that there was a preference for the 2 medical marijuana provisioning centers. So it did not go into great detail. If the commission wishes to add more establishments, then obviously that selection criteria will be expanded upon, will probably have to be expanded upon. And I would add the final thing is that the reason for the change to the point system from the first draft, which was more broader, the reason was the court decisions that have happened since recreational has come into existence, and I talked to the commission about those court decisions on a couple of occasions, and those court decisions, preliminary injunctions were issued against Berkeley, Traverse City, City of Detroit in federal court, and the fourth one escapes me right now, all based upon the court's opinion that selection criteria that went beyond a competitive system that is designed to select the most qualified applicant to comply with the statute. That's the language in the statute. That things such as giving points for vacant buildings, for social equity, for numerous things, all of those judges ruled in granting preliminary injunctions that they didn't see how those factors had anything to do with one's ability to operate a medical facility in conformity with the Act. So that is why, and we indicated to you that we were changing from the subjective long list of things to a point system. That was the reason, to hopefully avoid challenges to the ordinance at a later date. So.
Thank you. Okay, so there's obviously lots of, do you have anything else you want to throw in there?
No, ma'am.
Okay. There's obviously a lot of concerns, so we can kind of go around and.
Excuse me 1 second.
Yeah.
Minor issue. At the last meeting, Commissioner Menzer had 2 questions on the medical marijuana portion had 18 years of age. The recreational portion as it related to consumption establishments had 21. Both of those are mandated by the respective statutes. The language is right in those 2 statutes. And Mayor Kropp had a question relative to the designated consumption establishments as to the time, hours of operation. The hours of operation were put in simply because they were the same hours of operation as the other establishments. So if the commission wishes to change that or expand those hours, it can.
Other stuff, I'm sorry.
The grow operation, the retail establishment, all had 9 p.m. as the closing. So those are up to if there's a desire to change those, that can be done.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I'll start. What the heck? I think that part of the problem, at least for me, was it gets approving this as we go through this whole ordinance and go through at the same time, the permitting and the licensing of the 2 establishments that have recently obtained that. We're kind of seeing how it works, right? And one of the problems was we never really saw how it operated because these 2 establishments didn't get going until just recently. But through the course of all that, a lot of questions came up about one of them. And a lot of questions came up about how it was being handled and who was the applicant and were there changes. And so that is one issue for me still is, and from what I heard tonight, there was a change in either registered name, registered owners, registered agent. I'm not sure what until I go look at it, but I wasn't aware of this before tonight. But there's something that changed. So I think we have to look at that. But we had approved the 2, But this, as we went through this, it really became apparent to me that the ordinance seemed to grant a preference to a big company, to a larger company that could meet all the qualifications, that had the room. It didn't necessarily seem fair to smaller businesses. And given that we only allowed a set number of dispensaries, et cetera, there wasn't any opportunity for anyone else to become involved, to get a license. So that starts us thinking. And so then when the point system came up, it seemed to also have and as you said, there was a preference, right, to the two that had already had been approved for a permit. But not only they were the only two approved for the permit, we had questions about one of them, and no one else could get into the whole mix. And I've spent so much time reading this thing now, and I've wavered back and forth, but I think that it's only fair if we do consider additional permits for licenses for our community, if we're going to be fair about this whole thing. And I strongly believe that the proposed point system won't, I think we have to just relook at that and discuss it. What are the criteria that we want to use, and what criteria, how many points they should be?
I just want to clarify, you're really only speaking to the selection, or the 2 licenses that are for dispensaries, correct?
That's fine, but even, I said all of the license. Maybe we need to look at all of it, right?
Okay.
If there's only, we were when these numbers were originally set, this was all new to us, right? We didn't know how many. It was like, pull a number out. We don't want to go too crazy here, but we don't want to miss out. It was difficult it is still difficult to select a number. But I think we need to think about broadening it a little bit, or just revisit it, have some discussion about it. That is one of my concerns. The criteria is one of my concerns. Make sure we have that set. And then the third concern is what's going on with BBJG, and have they met all of the requirements that we laid out in the medical marijuana ordinance?
Well, I think that we need to kind of stick to the ordinance tonight's discussion, right? I mean, obviously we need to talk about those things, right? But not, like, we need to kind of focus on
but
the
that
pieces
is
of
one
this.
of the things that kind of kept this thing all churning.
Well, and I think that, to your point, and anyone else, I think to your point of, I think what has been mindful of every person on this board who has discussed it from when the medical marijuana ordinance first began. So what was that, 6 years ago or something? I don't know, long time ago. So everyone who has sat on this board, I think one of their main concerns is being fair, right? I mean, keeping the community safe with this, and trying to make sure that we're on the right path with it, not lead the city into territory that we can't undo, but also to be fair in, from what we've been told, there's a lot of money for somebody who does receive these licenses to be made, and we want to be fair. So that being said, in my mind, when I look at this, I would like to see if we're going to offer preferential, it's not really preferential treatment, I guess it's a preference, right, to the 2 people that already hold licenses in the scoring system. I would like to open up 2 more additional licenses, especially in the area of dispensaries, which seems to be, retail seems to be where everyone's concern is. But especially in those, because then it opens up 2 more opportunities for people who haven't had that So, I mean, in my mind, it balances the scales, right? Because if those 2 who already hold and will have those points, it still opens up the doors for 2 additional people without opening the floodgates to our community.
I would point out one thing relative to the preference issue.
Yep.
The preference issue is has been utilized in a number of other communities in their ordinances. I counted them this afternoon, 16 ordinances that I went through in the process of this. And in addition, the state, in the statute, indicated the department shall begin accepting applications for marijuana establishments within 12 months after the effective date of this act. And that was February 20th, or February 2020. Except as otherwise provided in this section, for 24 months after the department begins to receive applications for marijuana establishments, the department may only accept applications for licensure for a marijuana retailer, marijuana processor, Class B marijuana grower, Class C marijuana grower, or marijuana secure transporter from persons holding a state operating license pursuant to the Medical Marijuana Facilities Licensing Act. So the state itself placed a preference for the first 2 years that they were only going to allow state licenses to applicants who possessed medical marijuana licenses. So that's part of the background. So the preference, I just am trying to make clear the preference issue was something that the state utilized and also a lot of other communities utilized.
Sorry, you can't participate. This is not a public hearing. Sorry.
But the problem I have with, when we look at the preference in Mount Clemens, is the fact that neither of these, I will say one of them has done it with less controversy than another, but one of them but neither one has been operating. We don't know how they're going to operate this stuff, these establishments. We don't know if they're going to, we have no clue because they haven't actually been operating yet.
And we did add the micro grow opportunities, correct? And
the
those are,
designated consumption establishment.
and the designated, so the micros are 2 additional dispensaries essentially, correct?
Right, but that's not the point. The point being that when we talk about giving additional points to the ones we've already granted, we don't know that they're going to operate, how they're going to operate, because we haven't seen them operate.
Right, true.
So, yes, we did approve 2 micros, and the question is, the other thing that gets me about the micros is, this is the number of plants that can grow when you compare it to the healthcare people. It seems to contradict rational thinking sometimes that the healthcare people can grow more plants than, we're regulating this thing down to the plant, and yet it's just, part of me has some very strong feelings about how this thing is being regulated by the state. But at this point, going back to the discussion, I agree. I think that probably 2 more dispensaries, for example, as you suggested, may help balance the scales here. But I still think the point system needs to be looked at.
Well, it would have to be if you're adding more. I mentioned that in my first comment.
Yes, I heard you. Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Mentor.
So I was against, and I remain against, the city manager reviewing the permits and the licenses and the applications and then sending them directly to the commission, because that there is no appeal process then. There is no other body or board here in the city that if they're denied or needs to be a zoning change, there's no place for an appeal. Adding a when we talked about adding a micro business and we added, a designated consumption, we put those in the industrial area. I brought up the fact that we should have a conversation with the DDA board and ask them their preferences for the businesses downtown. If we're going to do a micro establishment or a simple consumption only, then do businesses in the downtown area want something like that to supplement and to, their businesses and to bring in more business? I think that to just put those in the industrial area and not consider either central business or commercial, is kind of, faulty. I looked at, we talked about doing events, kind of like everybody, the big example is, the Ann Arbor Hash Bash. If we were going to do a marijuana event, where would we want that event to be? And I think, again, the DDA ought to have a say, and is that an event that they want to have downtown, close off Macomb Place, let people gather, let people, participate, in one rally in a certain area? Are we going to put it out, where else would we put it? I don't think we want to put it in the parks where, our children play. So I think that needs to be re-examined. I think an event like that can bring a lot of people into the city and do a lot of good for the existing businesses in the downtown area. So I think that conversation for both the micro business and the consumption and the events needs to be reestablished, and we need input from the DDA. I also agree that the point system to me is problematic. And I'm disappointed to hear Mr. Murray's explanation, because I would have liked to see if somebody came in and took a blighted building, and we have certainly plenty of them up and down Gratiot and in the commercial area, in the industrial area. We have blighted empty buildings in the downtown area. I would like to see, some kind of, I hate to use the word preference or point or something.
He just said that was.
I know, I got that.
That wasn't my,
that.
that's what the courts have been
Yeah.
ruling.
But that's.
If you want to put blighted buildings, vacant buildings, put it in, but.
But then you're going to get sued.
You may lead to some challenges. That's
If you
the
would
point.
let me finish, because I had the floor, I find that to be a disappointment, and I think it's a shame that we can't add something like that in, whether it was the state that signed it, that, put it in or not. I think that would help. And also, I think that we need to talk about the zoning. When we look at the zone, the different districts and what we're allowing in them, and then we say that a Class C can only be in a 10-acre parcel, I think that's very limiting. And so I really believe that the zoning should be, or the
Zoning.
yeah, should be relooked at. I think to say that there's really, what, one piece of property in the city? Well, maybe two, Mr. Stilson has 10 acres of, to establish, a grow operation of that size on. And I think that's, wrong. And in echoing Commissioner Fournier, I have some concerns with the VBJG organization, who's on their board, how they're licensed, and what is actually going on over at Gibraltar.
Commissioner Dempsey, did you have?
Well, I'm getting caught up here.
Okay, go ahead.
I missed quite a bit on this. I just have a couple concerns, not concerns, but I think we should address. And when we originally started this, we said 2 because we wanted to see how those two would operate within our community. And that's why we went with two. Now, if we wouldn't have had all this lawsuits and everything else that came about, these two would be probably operating, and we could sit here and say, okay, we can add, it looks like it's doing good, or no, we don't want any more because we're having issues. So I think if we continue to talk about this and keep changing this, it'll be 6 months down the road again before anything happens. So I think we need to really concentrate on getting this together. We can always amend. You can amend the week after you put this together if you feel strongly enough about something else, or adding some more. You're adding 2 micro breweries, which microbreweries, but put my glasses on, I can read businesses, which is ridiculous. Nobody's going to open that. I can grow 165 plants in my house, you know, and why not then think about the two, adding 2 dispensaries versus these micro jobby-doos, whatever you want to call them. But we need to get off and get this going. And I would suggest there's a couple things too. I think that the 1,500 feet between commercial properties, I think, should be eliminated. We're not a large town. We're not a large industrial. And if you go into an industrial park, those buildings are close together. So why are we saying this building can grow, but you're 1,500 feet away, you can't? You know, or you're 800 and you can't. So I think that's something we should look at and eliminate. To me, it doesn't, I think, you know, when we were first starting this years ago, when none of us knew what we were doing, and we put together the best we could, but it created an awful lot of problems throughout the community. And I do agree we should really take a look at possibly adding 2 more. But if we just finish and get these other 2 going so we can see how it works within our community.
So your suggestion is take out the 2 micros and to put in 2?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the micro is
Okay.
not going to go anywhere, or, you know.
I have no issue with that.
So I would think that we'd want to look at the other way. But again, I'm thinking, let's get this going so the 2 can operate so we can see what it does for the community. Does it generate the money that everybody thinks it's going to generate?
Well, the two that can operate under the medical.
Right.
Yes. So I mean,
Right.
that we're not holding them back at this point.
No, but you know, they're both waiting for the recreational. So I mean, it's still in our hands that we need to, you know, move forward. So I agree from the standpoint, I'd like to see just a little bit tweaking on this and then get moving on it.
I think we all agree there. We
Yeah.
would like to get moving on it.
Yeah, I mean,
But
we're
I
all-
think that those, it makes, I would have no objection to replacing the 2 micros with the 2 dispensaries. I'm curious how these micros would work anyway. I
you know-
don't quite get it, but,
I spent 6 hours today reading this, reading Harrison Township, and I have to say, a lot of our ordinance, what we have in here, mimics Harrison.
Absolutely.
Mimics Burton, not Burton, yeah, I think it was Burton.
Berkeley.
Yeah, thank you. So they're pretty standard in a lot of, and in fact, the point system is the same in Harrison.
I know.
Which I can kind of figure why, but, so, you know, I think we're there. We just need to pull the plug and get something going. Everybody's sitting and waiting, and
I think the ordinance, the space between the growing in a commercial area, I think our main concern was close to residential, right? So I mean,
You've got that
right,
in there.
right, of course. And so by changing the commercial proximities wouldn't change the residential. So I mean, I think
Right.
that is something that,
I'm fine with that.
yeah, we can all agree that it won't impact residents, in other words. But to Commissioner Mentzer's point about other ordinance change, not ordinance, I'm sorry, zoning changes. When we discussed medical marijuana and that ordinance, I was a proponent of having it in the downtown because I felt as though that's where dispensaries would least impact neighborhoods, right? And so that was why not be in central business, right? Because that's where the heart of business goes, and frankly, it's when you have one-way streets and a lot of people and more of a condensed area, there's less opportunity to rob places. I thought that it just made sense and it had good synergy. I was outvoted on that, and including by Commissioner Mentzer. And so I'm surprised that now that's the discussion, but I would be open to that as well. That being said, I don't know how deep we can go back into all of this and then have to rehash this. But then, like Commissioner Dempsey said, then what? We're still here in June or July, and we're wearing sundresses to the meeting. I don't know. Like you said, we can change things. Commissioner Hammond and Commissioner Campbell, Commissioner Voorhees, we haven't heard from you yet, so.
I think we need to move this forward, this ordinance. I am in favor of adding 2 more, but, and I think we had a discussion, or at least I did, with, I think Commissioner Hammond and Mr. Murray about giving preference to citizens in Mount Clemens, and I realize, and I think you straightened me out on that, Mike, that the court has said that they can't do that?
Those are the decisions of the circuit courts and the federal court in Detroit. Now, none of those decisions, and those are just on granting an injunction, stopping the communities from issuing any permits.
Okay.
Based upon those courts saying, we think your ordinance violates due process and constitutional matters. One of those items that are listed in some of those ordinances are preferences to residents, preferences, those type of things. But none of that has gone up to the Court of Appeals or to the Supreme Court. So, we're all somewhat in the dark. There are no hard and fast rules until there's actually some appellate decisions.
I haven't heard of Harrison. If our numbers are, if our rules are based on Harrison's ordinance mostly, right, closely, have they been sued? I don't know.
No,
because
but
of the point system?
Harrison's a totally different
They don't
animal.
have dispensaries,
It's
right?
all grow.
Yeah.
That's A. B, yeah, our ordinance is similar to Harrison's. It's similar to Berkeley's. It's similar.
Okay.
Most of the ordinance, probably 2/3 of it, is statutory language. So, that's why they're similar. But Harrison is totally different in terms of all they allow are grow operations.
Okay.
And from what I understand, they had no challenges because there was not an excess of applicants over the number of licenses the permits they had authorized.
Well, that was convenient.
Well, that eliminates challenges.
You're right, exactly. Yes, Commissioner.
The only concern that I have at this point is, will we be going through the same thing again when we open up for 2 more and we get 20 applications and you pick 2 and the other 18 are going to file lawsuits?
Probably.
I think we need to make sure we get.
But will they file lawsuits against us if we have?
This ordinance together.
I think maybe some of the things you've missed is that Mr. Murray has assured us we'll be sued for no matter what. So, so rest assured.
Every community I'm aware of, and it's normally over provisioning centers under the old act and retail establishments under the recreational act. There have been the ones where there have been more applicants than permits authorized. There have been lawsuits. It's just You know, I mean, we've all seen it. Look at Warren. Their lawsuit's still going on over medical. You know, it just seems to be a fact of life. That, so I would not think that there will not be some litigation if you have more applicants than you have permits.
Mayor Pratt,
Yes.
could each of us individually, some of the things we talked about we wanted to see changed, could we put that in writing to the attorney? And then he could gather everyone's information, do what he has to do with the ordinance and bring it back to us?
I mean, that's somewhat what he's doing right now, but
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Because what'll happen if, right now, all I'm aware of is that there's an indication that there's a collective desire to add 2 more, and I'm not even sure what the 2 more are. Is that limited to retail establishments and provisioning centers? Or does it mean you want 2 more grow, 2 more of everything?
I mean, the only licenses we've, have been provisioning centers.
That's where the
where
the majority of applicants are.
Right, we don't have an abundance of anything else, so.
So other than that, yeah, I would appreciate it, actually, if I could get some ideas on what people are, some more detail.
When would you like those from us? Because I think we should set a date, so then that way you have something to prepare.
By the end of the year.
By the end of the year?
Yeah.
Because then, what is our next date for this? January 18th?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that would be the second meeting in January?
Yes.
So would we see a revised ordinance prior to that? So that,
Yes, that would be my intention.
so that we
The
can
first meeting, then?
not
Well, when
turn that one
I
into.
put doing it at a meeting, I would, as we've done in the past, I would send the commission a draft
Okay.
of, I wouldn't put it on the meeting,
Right, and then the 18th we would discuss.
right?
The draft that we could
then
review.
discuss, yeah.
Does the commission feel comfortable with that?
Otherwise, I think we're going to sit here and we're going to go round and round and not get anywhere.
So what happens if we conflict, if you get conflicting?
Right, that's my concern.
At some point, I think you're going to vote on something.
Well, okay, but what are you going to put in the ordinance? Are you going to have A or B?
Well, I think we can talk about if there's a confliction. You know, if we're that conflicted on something, if I'm going.
So then,
one-
do we put a discussion on the first meeting?
Right.
That's what I would like.
That's what I'm wondering, or do we hold off till the 18th? I mean,
I
personally.
don't think you're going to find that much of
I hope not,
conflict.
yeah.
I think that, you know, the things that you have brought up, the things that you've brought up, and a couple things I've brought up, and what Denise, I think they're all really somewhat different parts of the ordinance. You know, the commercial, you want to go maybe to some commercial or dispensaries, you want to, you know.
My only concern is that, I mean, so does he put in, if one commissioner says,
No.
right, I mean,
Both.
I don't.
That would be, in order
That's
to
the
get
problem
this done
we've
by.
had thus far.
Right.
is
one
we
commissioner
have
wants to
varying-
change
Yes.
one
Everybody
part.
wants something they want to change.
Right,
So
it's like
if-
a buffet line right now, and that's what I'm concerned with.
So if you gather up the items on the buffet, and
Mm-hmm.
we have certain areas where we are
Then
conflicted,
we discuss it.
if we could discuss those at the first meeting in January.
You can discuss them, you could discuss them at the
Okay,
18th,
so
at the
we
meeting
could,
on the 18th.
but we want to get it done.
Right, we're trying to move it along.
Right, so we don't want to get tabled.
Got to get this moving.
So, are we talking about, is it the 4th, January the 4th, we would have
Our next,
like a
well, right.
first reading of it, and then the 18th approval?
No, we've already
The-
had the first reading,
So everything would be done on the 18th?
yes, would be the second
All
reading
right.
and approval.
All right, then I move that we table the second reading and final approval of the marijuana business ordinance to the January 18th, 2022 agenda.
Can we, do you want us to add in that commissioner should input a comment? Do you want that in the, okay, okay. Any comments, questions?
Glad to see it moving forward.
I would like to see all of the commissioners' comments on this, though, to Mr. Murray by Monday, the 27th of December.
Okay. And we should, I'm sorry, Mayor Crop, we should send it to everyone?
No.
All the commissioners?
No, we can't do that.
Absolutely no.
That's a FOIA, I mean, that's a,
Just to the attorney?
right, exactly, because there can't be any,
Okay. I just want to make it clear.
so everyone should directly send their email to Mr. Murray. Do you want them to CC you?
They can CC me. They should not be CCing other commissioners.
Right, so no other board commission member, please, on your emails, but please by the December 27th, all your comments. All right, anybody other questions?
Just
Okay.
one final thing.
Yeah.
And I guess I would suggest that some of the things you think about and put down, how many feet do you want?
Well, that's what I.
You know.
Be specific.
Instead of just saying, we want that change, what do you specifically think would be appropriate?
Yeah.
That's, you know,
That's
because
what I was-
otherwise we'll just keep going around and
No,
around.
that's fair. We have to
Be very specific in the change. Or you could address the ordinance, where it is in the ordinance that you're looking.
Right.
Sure.
That's what I was thinking of doing, so.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, call the roll, please.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser. Yes. Voorhees.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to agenda item 9E, consider additional city flag options. We'll entertain a motion to discuss, since we can't really, we did this before. We'll just go ahead and discuss since the motion is a number, and we don't have a number yet. Mr. Johnson, do you want to go ahead and?
Okay, well, at the November 15th meeting, we presented flag options. One option was put forward. It did not get enough votes to pass. So following the meeting, I asked Redhead Creative Consultancy to provide 2 more flag options based on number 7 from that meeting, but substituting the city seal and the city logo for the icon in the white field of the flag. These both put text on the flag, which is in conflict with the design recommendations of the North American Vexillological Association.
It's okay, Don.
I know. Redhead actually gave me 2 additional ones too that are very simple. They're just the seal and the logo on a teal background. None of these designs were reviewed by the branding committee because we didn't have time from when we got them to have the committee look at them again, but they're all very similar anyway. So you now have, in addition to 7, which is the carryover, and if you want to see the old ones, there is a link there so that you can see the report from the prior meeting. But we now have options 9, 10, 11, and 12.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson. I think we've broken his heart, just so everybody knows. And, but moving on from that, everyone take a look. I'm sure you've lost sleep over the flag. What are your thoughts? I personally like option 9.
I like option number 9 too. Oh my gosh.
Y'all have 9 over here.
Okay. What about from this side of the room?
9.
9.
All right, well, then somebody make a motion.
I move to approve option number 9 be chosen as the official city flag of the official city Mount Clemens flag.
Support.
Any further discussion? I'd like to thank the branding committee again. They put a lot of work into this, so.
Good compromise.
Yes. All right, and we'll call the roll, please.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to 9F, approve charitable gaming licenses for the Raising American Heroes organization. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adopt the local governing body resolution for charitable gaming licenses for the Raising American Hero organization.
Support.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Fournier.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
All right, moving on to agenda items, since there's nothing under G, we'll move on to 10. Consent agenda doesn't appear to be anything either, so we'll keep going to 11, city manager's report. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. God, I hate to talk about marijuana again so soon, but we have been notified by the Michigan Department of License and Regulatory Affairs that VBJG's state medical marijuana license applications have all been approved, and the city permits have since been issued. Also, JARS has completed all of the city requirements to obtain a medical marijuana provisioning center license from the state of Michigan. That included obtaining site plan approval, obtaining building and trade permits, passing all inspections, obtaining a certificate of occupancy, and providing an updated insurance certificate to the city clerk. We are now awaiting word on JAR's license approval from the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. Downtown Lights and Tinsel Tour. Downtown holiday decorations were stepped up this year. The DDA hired Landscape Services Incorporated to do decorative lights in the downtown core, and they did a great job. Most prominent feature is a real 25-foot tree next to the fountain stage. The annual tree lighting ceremony featuring Santa and Mrs. Claus was a great success. I had one often critical merchant gleefully tell me she never saw so many people downtown. The annual Tinsel Tour tree decorating event, which has been in its initial year down by the river, and the last year, I think the last 2 years, next to City Hall. Was moved downtown this year in cooperation with the DDA. Doing this required that we switch to battery-powered lights, and that's the reason these lights are not as bright as the nearby lights that are powered by the electrical grid. We just simply do not have electric power available to where most of those lights are located. Cable.
They still look great.
On Wednesday, November 10th, Comcast upgraded our playback transports. The analog modulators, which have been in service since the late 1990s, were replaced with digital encoders. Comcast customers will notice an improvement in signal quality on the government, educational, and public access channels. At this point, Comcast, WOW, and AT&T are all delivering PEG channels on digital encoders. WOW is delivering all 3 channels in HD. Comcast now has the ability but does not currently offer PEG in their HD bundle. Any questions in regard to these should be directed to Patrick Linneberry, and his phone number is provided. Special events upcoming. December 18th, POP's 2nd annual light parade. Kids New Year's Eve at the Discovery Center of Macomb on December 31st from 4 to 9 p.m. With activities, movie and crafts. Kids Fireworks Show and Ball Drop, 9 p.m. Gather on Main Street near the Clock Tower. New Year's Eve Gala, December 31st, Main Street at Market, 10 p.m. Fireworks at midnight. Fire and Ice Chili Cook-Off, February 11th, multiple locations. And the Ice Carving Show, February 12th through 14th, and if we get lucky like last year and it stays cold, we may leave them out a little bit longer. We don't get that kind of weather every year, though. COVID. Michigan's rate of new COVID inspections hit an all-time high in mid-December, but started falling in the last week and is no longer highest in the nation. I think it was New Hampshire that actually passed us. Macomb County's rate of new infections remains higher than Wayne, Oakland, or Washtenaw, but is lower than St. Clair, Lapeer, or any part of the Thumb. City currently has just one staff member off with a positive diagnosis. That's no longer true. We have another one. Although this one might be back by now. We do have one City Hall employee off right now. And actually the one who was awaiting test results, when I wrote this, got a confirmed positive. And as before, everyone in Macomb County age 5 or older is eligible to receive a COVID vaccine. For more information, please visit the Macomb County Vaccine Central website. And I would personally say that the Macomb County Health Department has done what I think was an outstanding job in operating their vaccine center. I've been there 3 times, and it's always been handled very quickly and painlessly. Then I've got future agendas listed.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Johnson and his report? I had one. The cable channel, all those really complicated words about digital stuff that you had, does that mean that anything broadcasted from anything broadcasted here through Darren, does that mean that we're in HD? Oh, great. No?
Well, it depends on which. Not on Comcast.
Well, then.
They've got the technical ability, but they aren't doing it yet.
Okay. But the rest of everybody is seeing us in HD?
Yes.
I don't know if you've had the pleasure of comparing the two. Wonderful. I think I just aged 5 years on HD, so. Okay, great. That made my night.
The big thing I noticed with HD was a lot of old TV shows. The makeup really looks awful.
Yeah, yeah. And people look older. Okay. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Great. All right. We will move on then. Sorry, let me load my page here. Okay, to public participation. This is the second portion of the meeting that the public is able to address the commission. All that we ask is that you provide us with your full name and your residential address, and this time abide by our 2-minute rule. We'll first address in public, and then we'll go to Zoom. Is there anyone who would like to address the commission?
I missed my chance earlier. Nikki Weiss, 18200 Terra Drive, Clinton Township. I just want to ask the residents in the community to please come uptown and see the beautiful lights that we've got going on with the Tinsel tour as well. We have 4 new businesses that have opened, Bohemian Goat, 2 Girls in a Shop, Black Cat Coffee, and the Discovery Center. And I'd like everyone to know Clementine Pastry Shop is now hiring. They should be open in the next 2 to 2.5 weeks. We also have 3 other new businesses that are going to be going in probably, I would say, early February, maybe mid-February. They are building them out right now. So there's a lot going on downtown. So go into Black Cat, grab a coffee and a tea, and just walk around in the evenings. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the commission at this time?
Good evening. Thomas Barnes, 291 Jones Street, Mount Clemens. Mary Terrell once said that we should also lift as we climb. So I am so very thankful of partnering with some young men from our community that put together this ideal to have a coat drive. A few guys from our neighborhood who put together our annual basketball tournament now have taken that to the next level by deciding that they wanted to give back to our children. I sowed the first seed of just a couple of coats, and then before I knew it, all residents of our community started coming together. There was no big company that came in and bought 100 coats or 50 coats. It was residents like yourselves, 2 coats at a time, At last count, we are at 213 coats that we collected from this community alone. I think that speaks to the power and the beauty of the city that we live in. Through all of these hard conversations and tough things that you guys go through, we live in a really great place with really great people who all want to just pitch in and give a hand. So, thank you. Oh, the coat distribution is Saturday.
At what time?
2.
Thank you.
2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Kearns Community Center.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else?
Ryan Theory from 62 Rosebud. Just wanted to thank the commission for taking in, the ideas and listening to the community. And, I just want to thank you guys. And hopefully we'll see what the next marijuana ordinance is, or, how it reads. But this is at least working with the community and small government in progress. So really thank you guys for all reconsidering. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address the commission? Anyone on Zoom? We've got one? Okay.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can.
Hello, my name's Eric Rick, 1699 Hampton Road. Just wanted to speak briefly regarding the marijuana zoning restrictions. It might be worth considering to modify the standoff distances to include cases where the property is particularly large and the buildings are not near the edge of the property. Right now, the ordinance, it's property line distance only. And in a case where the pertinent building is significantly further away from the property line, it might be worth modifying it to include considerations for those kinds of situations. Additionally, it may be worth, I don't know if there's any legal requirements, but consider reviewing neighboring communities' standoff distances at time of review, such as if there's a church or school or whatever. If they're in Clinton Township and immediately right next to the marijuana facility, doesn't matter. Doesn't count in our ordinance. It may be worth just adding something that at the time of review, if there is something that doesn't meet those standoff distances in a neighboring community, consideration should be given. Other than that, good luck with continuing to update the ordinance.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on Zoom? All right, seeing no one else, we'll go ahead and move on to commissioner comments. We will start with Commissioner Dempsey.
I just want to congratulate Gus's Coney Island for 50 years of staying in this community. They were in an older building. They tore that building down, built a new building. They've invested a lot in this community, so congratulations to Gus's Coney Island. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Voorhees?
Thank you, Mayor Kropp. On November the 18th, Mount Clemens lost one of our veteran firefighters, Mike Schlaff. Mike had 23 years of service with the department, and we had been friends for more than 55 years. His dear wife, Pam, is the manager of the Nest in downtown. May he rest in peace. As we enter this most joyous time of the year, I would like to remind our citizens to shop local. The money you spend here stays here. Be kind to one another. And with that, once a Clemite, always a Clemite.
Thank you. Commissioner Menzer?
So in keeping with the theme tonight of shopping local, where have I been in the last month? Because I think we lead by example. And so I like to be seen downtown. And I have been to O'Halloran. I have been to Three Blind Mice. I have been to the Rec Bowl. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings. I went to Paperback Writers in Weirdsville. I popped into Max and Ollie's. I did stop in the Nest. I think that we all have a responsibility to promote the businesses in our city. So I got off a plane this afternoon at 4:27 and came through Detroit in rush hour traffic. And I've been gone for a few days. So And I'll tell you, I was in Daytona, it was 80 degrees and it was marvelous, but I was there for a meeting.
You're breaking my heart.
Yeah. But when I came down that expressway and I got into the Mount Clemens city limits, and I knew that my home was, you know, just a mile or two away, the feeling of peace and contentment that I was going home to my own house in the city that I have grown up in and fought for and worked for and played in and worked in, there's no feeling like that. It's always great to come home. And right now, I am so tired, I want to go to sleep. Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Campbell.
I did have the opportunity to go downtown yesterday and see the new Tinsel tour area. I was down there at 9:30 in the morning, and there was a lot of people down there, so. And I also want to thank Teresa Bryant from the city who helped organize the Tinsel tour. She did a great job. She was working behind the scenes, and I just want to give her a shout out for all the work she did. And with that, have a good night.
Thank you. Commissioner Hammond.
I want to congratulate Gus's Coney Island for their dedication to the city of Mount Clemens for their 50 years of service.
Great, thank you. Mr. Fournier.
Congratulations as well from me to Gus's, and we hope we see the familiar face in the city for years to come as well. I also want to congratulate Tommy and Mike and Mickey and everyone who worked on the parade. It came off beautifully, and I think a lot of hard work went into it, and it should be recognized. Thank you so much for stepping up, and it was a great time. Had a lot of fun. And I just have to say on the marijuana thing, I know we've gone through a lot, but a lot has changed along the way, and a lot of feelings have changed along the way. In fact, I met with Mr. Barnes, and I said, you know, when we first started talking about this, you were dead set against it. But you're not now. So we're all evolving as we go through this, and what's going to be best for our community and how we can best use this opportunity towards the betterment of our community. So hopefully by January 18th, we'll get this thing straight in our heads, and we'll get it out there, and we'll go from there. But we just need to think it out, and I think that we need to really give a lot of consideration to the suggestions that we send to Mr. Murray. And downtown does look amazing, absolutely amazing, and I couldn't be prouder. Maybe their batteries with batteries, it's not as bright, but you wouldn't know it when you walk down there. To me, it's just beautiful, and thank you for everyone who put some effort into that, because it truly, truly is a special place to go. It's an event now. It's a destination. So thank you. It is. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely magical. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to congratulate the Gusses, of course, and thank them for their years of continued support to a lot of different community members, because I think they have a tremendous heart for everyone in the community. I see a lot of people that I think are forgotten by other people in our community. So I want to especially thank them for that. Welcome back, Commissioner Dempsey. This is our first meeting together, so I wanted to make sure I say welcome back. And I wanted to thank 41B for coming out and being mindful of their 2020 budget, because at one point, or 2021, sorry, budget, we were thinking we would be handing them $60,000, I believe was the total. So to not have to do that means we can spend that somewhere else, or we can save that money, or we can not have to give $60,000 to the court system. So we're really happy that that is the case. I will have coffee talk on Thursday, December 9th at 6 p.m., which is a change from my normal 6:30 p.m. I do have a family commitment at 7, so I'm trying to fit everybody in here. So Black Cat Coffee will be Thursday, December 9th, 6 p.m., so everyone is welcome. Tuesday, December 14th at 9:30 a.m. at John's Family Grill. So if you work, you can attend in the evening, and if not, you can join me in the morning. So December 12th is the date that I was given for Clementine's Pastries opening. So hopefully that will be the case, and we're really excited for them to open, and now we'll have to work out even more because we have a pastry place now going into the cupcake place. And since Commissioner Menser tells us we have to keep going to these places, I'll blame her.
I forgot to mention Gumbos and Orleans. You notice it's a food thing because I'm a really rotten cook.
Yeah. So there you go. So also I'd like to mention that the light parade is growing and growing and growing. And so we're going to meet this week to talk about how the route and everything. So if you are interested in participating in the light parade, stay tuned for information on where to stage and all that through the POP's event page, Pop Sweets and Treats event page, because he technically is running that parade. And so, but we're going to help out with trying to make sure that that's a success. And come and join us. If you want to just watch the light parade, come downtown. It will go right through Macomb Place and probably some of the other streets as well, because it sounds like we have a lot of cars interested. If you may have noticed that I issued a challenge to Clinton Township for Toys for Tots again. So we're trying to beat Clinton Township for most toys donated. You can give your donations of unwrapped and brand new toys to the fire department, or Pop Sweets and Treats, Nevin Jewelers, Black Cat Coffee, the Deep Cuts Barber, and the pizza, Square One Pizza out on Grossbeck. So everyone has donation boxes. Anyone can, you can donate at any time until December 18th. So we're going to beat Clinton Township this time. That's my goal. All right.
Last time?
I mean,
Had to be close.
You know. We're going to beat them this time.
We do this on a per capita basis.
Yeah, we should do it on a per capita basis. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right, everyone. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.